Okay, so you're probably clicking on this video wondering why. Why am I, a video game YouTuber, talking about whatever the heck this is supposed to be? Why now? Well, I don't know. You see, this is Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, an ironically produced animation series released in 2010, one that's specifically trying, and emphasis on trying, to be an anime. One look at this thing and you're probably thinking, alright, Duo's lost it. But please, just hear me out here. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls is undeniably horribly produced, lacks good art, good animation, good sound mixing. Heck, they couldn't even keep the resolution the same from episode to episode, it's that bad. Nyan Neko Sugar Girls is garbage, but it's garbage that I love. There's just something so inherently charming about it that's somewhat hard to capture. I mean, I've watched this probably 10 separate times, and before you ask, yes, I'm crazy, but also I'm not alone here. Every friend I've shown this to started off hating it, but by the end, every single one of them grew attached to something about this. It's constantly referenced in my friend group, and it's my goal to share this treasure trove of garbage with as many people as I can. So if you've never heard of this, then sit tight, because I'm about to introduce you to the best worst thing on YouTube. Also, fun fact, I actually made a video on this a long time ago. Don't watch it, it's trash. And in it, I said I was going to make a part 2 and just never did. And I'm still not making a part 2 because that video doesn't deserve it, so we're just starting fresh here. Now considering that, well, it's Nyan Neko Sugar Girls, there's not really a whole lot of people analyzing this, so I guess I'll be the first idiot to do that. Let's hope I can glean something from this trash fire. I have a confession to make. I was once a weeb. I know, you must be disappointed, but don't worry, I've progressed. I'm no longer a complete weeb. I'm just mostly a weeb.
I have the power of God and anime on my side! Wait,
Don't worry about watching Nyan Neko Sugar Girls though, you won't be a weeb. Here's a get out of weeb free card, just from me. But yeah, as you may have noticed, this show is really trying to mimic that anime art style with a little bit of Microsoft Paint to add a bit of flavor. Every episode starts off with an opening and ending sequence. The opening features some gorgeous animation to get you ready for just what kind of experience you're in for, and it features the song True Love, which is from a DDR machine. And no, I don't mean just the song is from DDR, I mean this is literally taken off a DDR machine. You can hear the guy talking in the background and everything. But the opening is still catchy as frick. And as for the ending theme, well, I mean, that speaks for itself. It's a masterpiece, clearly.
Yeah, don't you just love mochi ice cream, Koneko-chan?
This is really what I'm doing with my life, huh? I've really watched this like 10 times. So this episode introduces us to our three main characters. First is Raku-chan, a green-haired cat girl who's equally as annoying as she is impossible to understand. Seriously, anytime she's talking for a long time, she gets borderline indecipherable.
Maybe I can treat him to ice cream, yeah? Or maybe he would like to play with me at the park.
Next up is Kaneko-chan, another cat girl for some reason, and she's pretty much the straight man of the group. Like, seriously, half the time she just seems bewildered at the world she's been placed into. Also, she has this weird obsession with green tea. Like, anytime anything happens at all, she just comes in with green tea, like, yeah, that'll fix all the problems. But no one in the cast compares to the utter brilliance that is the third main character, Hitoshi.
And I saw you two lovely ladies walking. How you doing? Kawaii Neko girls? Yeah, rar.
This guy is just the best thing about this show. Every line he has, he just hams it up so hard. Seriously, everything he says just destroys me. All of his jokes are hilarious, not because they're actually well written, but because the delivery is just so terrible that it's kinda mind-blowing.
Huh, working hard or hardly working? That was some comedy gold there, huh?
But yeah, Hitoshi is freaking amazing, as you'll see throughout this video. Regardless of all that, these are our three main characters, and the reason why it works so weirdly well is because these characters do not mix, like, at all. They feel like they come from three completely different shows tonally, so watching their interactions is just wild. Raku-chan's borderline childish nonsense talk, Hitoshi's cheesy, hammy dialogue, and Kaneko's serious bewilderment just combines to make this strangely entertaining. Like, seriously, they have a strangely good dynamic going on here.
Hitoshi-san, are you okay, yeah? Oh, Hitoshi-san.
Koneko-chan, you wound me. You guys.
This isn't funny. The first couple episodes are a bit light on plot and are focused primarily on putting the characters in wacky situations. In the first episode, Raku and Kaneko meet Hitoshi for the first time and have some pretty awkward interactions while Raku just falls head over heels for Hitoshi. In episode 2, Hitoshi, who takes the movie Chicken Run's name a little too seriously, is eating breakfast when he's kidnapped by a kidnapper.
Ah! Let go of me! Don't take me away to your secret place! I don't even know who you are! Ah!
Raku and Kaneko hear Hitoshi's screams and decide to give chase, managing to save Hitoshi in episode 3, followed by them just kind of leaving the kidnapper there. No, don't call someone to get him. I'm sure leaving him around is fine. He only kidnapped somebody. Who cares? So I think it's kind of wild I've went this long without mentioning it, but oh boy, this looks absolutely terrible. Animation is stiff at best and straight up not even there most of the time. The characters are drawn with constant deformities, and the audio feels like every take was done one time and never tried again.
I've never been this glad to see you.
And the funniest part is that no matter how many times you think, there's no way it'll get bad enough to surprise me after seeing this, it'll somehow do exactly that and find a completely new way to look terrible.
Hey you Nekos, how you doing?
It's bad, but in that kind of way where it's hard not to have fun making fun of it. And that's the thing. If it was just bad and that was it, that was the whole gimmick with no evolution, then the joke would get old real quick. After like 2 episodes, it'd be like, alright, I get it, I've seen enough. A lot of the people that make these ironically bad works oftentimes don't realize that if you don't evolve how bad it is, then it'll get stale real quick. The joke's funny the first time, but not really funny the 7th time. And a lot of things fall into this pitfall. I mean, it worked the first time, so let's just do it again. And then people get bored and leave. You see, that's the beauty of Nyan Neko Sugar Girls. It never falls into that pitfall. It's always trying to push the envelope to evolve just how terrible it can get. For example, the first 3 episodes primarily rely on the poor production value of the art, and oftentimes the poor voice acting as well to get by. Starting with episode 4 though, they decide to up the ante a little bit. It starts out with Raku picking up a squirrel before it bites her. And of course, she starts to cry. So, how long do you think they reasonably would want this crying scene to go on for? 5 seconds, 10 seconds maybe at the most. One minute and 15 seconds of this. I'm dead serious. And then Hitoshi begins thinking about the kidnapper like this for 20 seconds with a lot of emphasis on his Windows Movie Maker effects. Not gonna lie, those are some pretty sick edits, dude.
I'm very sick,
Hitoshi, what are you looking at? There's no one even there. She's sick. What is wrong with you? The whole episode is just focused on these awkwardly long sections that border on ridiculous, which is a whole new layer of bad to add onto the stuff that was already in the first 3 episodes. And this evolution continues into episode 5. Raku and Kaneko decide to visit the vet, as that squirrel bite seems like it might be causing some issues for Raku. Man, I couldn't tell she was suffering. How are we supposed to divine this subtle detail? And so they get to the vet and it introduces the actual veterinarian and
What seems to be the problem?
Can anyone still hear me after that? And yes, she almost always sounds like this. I don't know what kind of mic is being used, but oh boy, it's some magical stuff to get that kind of quality. And that's the thing, Nyan Neko Sugar Girls is always trying to push itself further, to exceed itself with each episode. It always tries to one-up itself and how bad it can get, meaning it stays interesting the entire time. Episode 1's jarring visual style, Episode 2 and 3's bad voice acting, Episode 4's lengthened scenes, Episode 5's horrendous audio issues, like, they just keep finding new ways to impress. And all of this builds until the final episode, but before I can talk about that, we gotta cover the plot leading up to it. Now, funnily enough, in another showcase of evolving, the episodes after 5 dramatically change the tone to be a bit more serious, though obviously still with a lot of goofy moments. So, Raku-chan not only got rabies from that squirrel bite, but also she got a hold of a Neko demon, whatever that is, as well. This somehow manages to turn her into a real cat for a bit, but not really, because she can kind of just go back whenever. Like, she goes on a roller coaster and bam, she's back to normal, let's go swim, there are no problems here. But actually, no, there's still problems, because alongside just kind of turn back into a cat whenever, Raku is getting ridiculously sick. The vet just straight up is like, yeah, she's got a couple days tops. So Raku figures, well, it's now or never, and decides to confess her feelings to Hitoshi, who subsequently friend zones her because he actually loves the kidnapper dude. Oof. And then Raku-chan dies. Not from Neko demons, not from rabies, but from a broken heart. No, that's perfect. That's the best ending they could have made. Even better is that episode 10 not only has this strangely serious tone, but I don't know if you noticed, but the animation actually gets kind of decent at some points. Look at this. This is nothing like how the earlier episodes looked. It's actually good. They go out of their way to raise the stakes with this higher quality animation and an actually decently serious tone, but just as it might get some genuine emotion out of you, just as things are their most serious, Raku-chan dies like this. This is just the perfect anticlimax for all this build-up. And then they have one final scene which is essentially just a microcosm of the entire show. It's great.
Raku-chan is a trooper. There's no way she could die of a broken heart. I know deep down inside that Raku-chan will be back, and we'll have our kawaii fun times just like always. Are you with me, good pal?
I think you're just in denial.
This, might I remind you, is the last thing we see from this show. That's just perfect. And before we get to the end, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of the other things related to the series real quick. There's episode 1.5, which is a half-completed episode that, There's the Christmas special, which is just about as magical as you'd imagine. And if you've ever wanted to hear Hitoshi sing Hips Don't Lie or I Want It That Way, then you're in luck!
Tell me why!
Fun fact, I don't think I've actually ever heard the original Hips Don't Lie, so this is the only version of that song that I know. Kinda sad when you think about it. You know, it's kind of funny, because I really don't think something like this would have ever gotten attention nowadays. Things like this thrive because they existed on this weird part of YouTube, a site that either doesn't exist anymore or really needs to be searched for deeply to be found. And regardless of whether anything I said here about it evolving its badness over the course of the series had any tangible effect on anything, this series clearly had an impact on people, for some reason. I mean, when they uploaded this PSA 8 years after the last Nyan Neko Sugar Girls episode, might I remind you, it got a ton of attention. There are constant fan attempts to remake the show's intro, and even a fan-made sequel series. And I mean, heck, this weirdo is making a video about it 10 years later, so it must have meant something at least. It may be garbage, but I love it regardless. And I hope I convinced someone to check it out at least. That or at least someone enjoyed the video besides me, that'd be great. Regardless, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my last video on the Mario 64 DS minigames, or maybe something else. Only if you want to though, no pressure.